POPs or public participation session of the council, and we have two that we know of. So the Forensic Club debaters, Angela McPherson and Bruce Tulloch. Welcome. So you've just got 5 minutes. Welcome, Glenn. You've got 5 minutes to do with as you wish, and a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to talk this morning. I'm Angela McPherson and this is Bruce Tulloch, and we are here to talk about a debating club we belong to, which is called Forensic Club. For the last 125 years, the club has operated under the radar in Christchurch, in that we have not publicised ourselves or actively sought new members. Now we have room to increase our membership, and so we are here to let Christchurch know that we exist and what we do. Also, as the only woman member, I'd really like some company. The Forensic Club was founded in Christchurch in 1890, and since then it's held meetings during the winter from April through to September. The only occasions that meetings have ever been missed was for in 1900 to celebrate the relief of Mafeking in the Boer War, for a period during the First World War, and one night in 1970 when ice on the roads stopped transport. Meetings are held on Thursday evenings, usually fortnightly, and the normal format is a debate. Lead speakers have up to 20 minutes to put their case, and second speakers 10 minutes. The topic is then thrown open to contributions from the floor, and leaders sum up and the performance is voted on. The results are taken lightly. It is not who wins or loses as how you play the game. The term forensic is of legal origin, meaning the examination of evidence, and the club holds that every person has two educations, one which they receive from others, and one, more importantly, that they give to themselves. And now, with one eye on the clock, I'll hand over to my second speaker.
Right. Well, the club's been going for quite a long time, and the success of this and the participation and contribution that members have made to Christchurch and to New Zealand shows that we're doing a fairly good job. It's an informal exercise, really. There's no blood on the floor in the debates. It's an opportunity for people to get up and speak on a topic for 20 minutes for the lead speakers, which is quite intimidating when you start. But you rapidly learn to tailor your talk to the audience, you learn to think on your feet, you learn to rebut the other side, to pick out the good points. Now, these are vital skills in this day and age, because concise, clear communication is essential. You know this very well in the City Council. A couple of examples of problems with communication were the furore over closing some of the suburban libraries about 10 years ago, and more recently the Victoria Square kerfuffle. And it took a little while before we were able to pull public consultation and discussion and come up with very good solutions in both cases. Now, this is the sort of the thing the Forensic Club can teach people. We're not like Toastmasters. We don't train people in speaking, but it's an opportunity to practice in a sympathetic audience. 20 minutes for the lead speaker, 10 minutes for the second speakers, and then it's thrown open to the floor, 5 minutes for anybody who wants to contribute. So you learn to listen, to think, and respond accordingly. And we all know how important that is in this day of blather and spin doctoring and everything else. So we have a membership maximum of 40. We're not up to that these days. Modern life has meant that people can't get along as often as they used to. However, we have space for new members, and we would encourage people who are interested to come along, hear what we do, decide whether they like to join or not, and generally increase their ability to take part in social and civic events around the city. So we have some information here. I'll leave copies on the table outside the door, and we'll be emailing information to the councillors as well. If anybody would like more details, get in touch, just let us know. So it's educational, it trains you up in important skills, and it's a hell of a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And it broadens your mind.
Very much so.
Fantastic. Now, we don't normally have time for questions, but we do on your occasion.
It's a really
Ali.
quick one. How many young people are involved?
Oh,
There's
well,
two
I'm
here.
75 and
Sorry,
still trying to get
that
out
to
of my
make it sound-
leases.
Our youngest member is probably around about 30.
Right, great.
And he's very committed and comes up with some great ideas. And also, has circulated everybody with ideas about us going on Facebook, which at the moment is a little step too far, I think. Members.
Just about to, actually.
For some of the members.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think Vicky's taken care of the Facebook. Your foray into Facebook is already about to happen. So you're going to have to set up your own page for everyone to like. Thank you very much for using this public participation part to tell us about the Forensics Debating Club. I just think it's a fantastic concept to be actually teaching people about critical listening and speaking, and I just think that analysis is sometimes lost in the demand for a 10-second soundbite. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Right, the next,
Well said, Leanne.
Jo Davies.
Very astute, wasn't it? Oh, she's a debater.
Good morning, Mayor Dalzell, the councillors, staff, the public, Keep Assets crew, rock on. So since 2011 there's been a lot of tension between central government and the council, mostly questions over the rebuild's direction. And I'd like to state that I'm past looking at these disagreements and feeling critical or cynical towards the situation we have at present. Now we need to look forward, not backwards, and I feel as though we need to think outside of the box. Littleton was built over 150 years ago, a lot of it stonework by the prison neighbour from the jail, and Christchurch was settled not long after because of the fertile land and space here. And for people to build these model wide-roaded towns that long ago, what's holding us back from building housing in our city now? And not just housing, but nice architecture. You know, with European-style apartments with nice Spanish facades. We have such modern technology. We have such standards in place to build world-class infrastructure that will survive the test of time, but we seem to be waiting for something. Is it private development and anchor projects? So our board, the Hagley Ferrymead Community Board, we had a briefing last Monday from Fletcher Living, who are fulfilling the government development in the Eastern Frame, and I'm going to admit some of the architecture was interesting, and the green corridor down the middle would be a treat to live by, but the representative from Fletcher Living did dutifully admit that the lowest price apartment is going to be $500,000. And that might seem like a good pot at the moment, but it's only for those who can already afford it, people whom society has given that privilege. The crux of it, in New Zealand, our term of housing, it's assuming it reflects a country where there was a lot of space, a time when people had big gardens. But urbanisation has occurred, immigration too, and poor management has led to a housing crisis nationally, and it's been blown up in Auckland this week, which is good to have that debate. And it's simple, there's not enough supply, and there's huge demand internally and externally. Now we have such an opportunity to stop Auckland from ever happening in Christchurch. One measure could be the council could create a non-for-profit entity, use 5 plots that it has in the CBD or acquire them if need be, and build an array of basic 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom European-style apartments. You could then sell them, put them onto the market for a range between $100,000 and $200,000, connect them with green spaces and paths, and give young people and couples the biggest opportunity of a lifetime. In Sweden, their word for apartment, it doesn't really exist in English. Bostadsrätt means to purchase the right to live in a flat. You buy a share in the building. Now you can find a bostadsrätt in any major town or city in Sweden for less than £1 million, which translates to $200,000. You can get some for less. I've seen some on their equivalent of eBay yesterday for 40 grand. Now this concept may differ significantly from our ideas of 4-bedroom single storage structures, but for a moment let's think about a different concept of housing, because human development isn't just abiding by the culture that we exist in, it's action, and we need to build a city. Like our forefathers and foremothers who built our roads and cities, they didn't wait for things to happen, they built it with their hands and they built it with their imaginations. And I think that Christchurch needs nothing more than imagination at this time, a hands-on, people-led recovery. Thank you.
Thanks very much. There is time for a couple of questions if people want. Glenn and then Phil.
Thank you, Jo. Good to hear that, and you've landing on a figure, and I started to question it. Then I realised we, at home built a sleep out for under 50,000 with the foundation requirements, 2 bedrooms, bathroom. So, how have you arrived at 100,000, which is very cheap for 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom? How do you?
It's just that's just translation from similar situations in Europe, where and even the property values over there and housing our size is far greater than ours here. But these apartments, they're very small. They're 3 rooms. Like the living space and the bed are in the same area. The kitchen is small. It's just a different type of housing.
You think in a city 100 is doable?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Joe.
Thank you.
Before I bring up deputations by appointment, I haven't, because the banners weren't up at the time that Joe came to the table, I just want the people who are putting them up at the moment just to reflect on the public participation and the distraction to people who are coming to the table to make their position known. It would be better if you saved it to when the public are not participating at this part and present your case as you are doing as a silent protest at the council business, because I think it is unfair and disrespectful to the people who are coming forward to use this as an opportunity to speak to the council, that time on affordable housing. The next deputation is in relation to contractor parking permits for residential homes, and I just ask people to reflect on whether that is respectful to people who are coming forward to speak to the council. Absolutely no objection to silent protest. I think it's a great idea. There's something wrong with our democracy if we didn't allow it. I'm just asking you to reflect on whether it's respectful to the people who've made appointments to come to the council to speak on matters important to them. So, on that note, can I call forward Dr. Stuart Garland?
Thank you to the council for the opportunity to speak to you again. I brought with me Andrew Simcock, just to let you know there's more than one resident in Holmwood Road. And our talk today is really pushing for a trial of a parking permit system which we think is fair, which we think is useful, and which we think may have an opportunity to spread further across Christchurch in the future. It's not really, we sort of seem to be going down preparing for a policy type thing. Now I'm saying no, you should do the trial, and that would lead to how your policy is formulated if you want to in the future. So far, 2 of your subgroups, engineers and others, have looked at this and said there's no need to change. We in Holmwood Road believe we have quite a bit of skin in the game. We were involved when the proposal to make the shops twice as big, and to us, logically, increasing traffic flow and parking requirement, went ahead despite our warnings that there would be a parking problem, and a year and a half later there is a parking problem. It's been dealt with by limited parking, 120-minute parks in the eastern end of Holmwood Road up towards Hillmills Lane, but for some of us that's quite a problem. And the main problem isn't that our own personal parking, because we quite accept the rule that your private vehicles should be parked on your own property as long as that's possible. This is now contractors who come to do various tasks. We have people that come once a week, gardeners and people with quite big vehicles, too big to get down our driveway, and we have arborists who come probably a couple of times a year, again with vehicles that are too big to go down our driveway. So we would follow an example set by the Devon County Council, where it was possible to get people certified to be able to use a permit. The permit then goes to the home owner, and in the Devon model you're allowed up to 4 different people, not at the same time, but different people that could be there. So you might have a gardener, an arborist, or something else, or you might only have 2 people. They would use this permit they would get from you when they came to your place, put it in the windscreen, and the enforcers our friends would be able to look through the windscreen and see if that car fitted with the number plate. They wouldn't be allowed to get on the permit unless they had their documentation sent to the council that they were a proper commercial provider of some sort. So far, the objections have been more along as if it was for private cars to go out there. This is commercial vehicles who can't park on the property because generally their vehicles are too big to go down the driveways to those properties. That's the first thing. The second thing is, but they can get a permit as a one-off. But when do these guys come as a one-off? They're always dependent on weather and various other things, so they'll ring us off on the night before and say, we can come in 2 days' time, or we can come 1 day time. Well, at night it's too late to get a permit. If they say 2 days' time, will it be fine in 2 days' time? So to us, to have a permanent permit available, it would have to be renewed each year, and that's what we're on about. 2 reasons why we think we need them: commercial people, too big a vehicle to get down driveways, etc., and the fact that it's very difficult with people that are working outside to cope with weather and to be able to guarantee that a particular date you've got your permit for will actually be the date they're there. And that's the burden of my song.
Phil, and then Ali, Pauline.
Thanks, Stuart. I just wondered from a Devon model how, in fact, that council deals with enforcement when, for example, there's any abuse of the system or some sort of fraudulent use by other people who are not registered or commercial contractors.
Okay, so as well as the sort of double laminated piece of document that goes in from the council with the number plates on it, they also have to put as a written thing themselves on the day what they're there doing, which has to fit with the arrangements that have been made for them. I think if you're gardening, it's going to be gardening, so I don't know that there's any big deal about that. Basically, their enforcers will ticket people who do not fit with the number plate and the use of the vehicle.
Okay, I just wondered too, though, if in fact council don't move towards the permit system, if there's any ways that you think perhaps that the current system might be improved adequately. So, for example, so that all contractors would know about the current council process.
Well, I think the contractors find it difficult. Now, we've got a different situation at the moment than I was really originally talking about, which was after the earthquake. We've got a lot of earthquake repairs, which is quite a shambles, and I suspect your enforcers have been quite generous in letting people go through. They weren't quite so generous with my wife, but they probably shouldn't have been. Although she had moved out of our driveway to let the commercial people in that could get in.
We'll do the deputation and then we'll do
I think it's way beyond Devon, as I find out, in the UK. So it has spread across the UK quite significantly for parking. Again, we are happy that residential vehicles should be on your own property. That's fine. So there isn't an easy thing that the council's got at the moment than a one-off permit for a day that they could use, and they've got these difficulties I'm mentioning already about being able to predict the day.
Sorry, who?
So just quickly,
Ali,
two
Pauline.
things. The issue is that very issue, because the council's obviously saying we have a system that works, and you're suggesting that in fact it doesn't because of the flexibility that's required. That's the main issue?
Well, you haven't had a chance to see it not working, really.
Right.
I mean,
that's my next question. So
yes.
would a trial be something that could be looked at?
And that's what we're talking about.
Right.
We're talking only about a trial. We're not wanting you to start doing policy on the hoof.
Right.
And the trial, we would hope, would lead you to be able to gather some information that might help the people that don't change anything.
Continuity-wise, though, we can see with the earthquakes and the repairs, particularly around that part of Merivale and Homewood Road, there's been some huge work there. Do you see this dealing with only that, or you've mentioned gardeners? Do you see this being expanded into?
No. We started this on the basis of post-earthquake.
Right.
Now, it's a more complex issue with earthquake. I mean, there are people there for a week at a time and 2 weeks at a time and all sorts of other things. There may be some way to ease things for them. I think your wardens have been generous so far for most of them. But it was unfortunate that the people that were interviewed about what a great system they thought it was had smoked more dope on their T-shirts. However, that may be as it be. So the earthquake people is a tricky thing to deal with. We don't have a clear way to do that. But remember, our bit of Homewood Road, as in the photograph on the front, now has 120 minutes put on it. We're the guys that said there's going to be a parking problem. We were told there will not be a parking problem. Now there is a parking problem. We think we've got some skin in the game, and we've made an effort to come up with an innovative solution, and we would rather move on from let's not change anything, because it is a problem.
Thank you.
Pauline?
Right, thank you. Just a couple of questions on probably semantics, but you talked about number plates being on the permit.
Yes.
So if you wanted to get a permit for your gardener and your arborist and whatever, you'd have to have the number plates of their vehicles.
Yes, we would.
So what if there was a bigger company and they used different vehicles? How do you get around that?
Well, I think you may have to be quite tough on that one, that there's one vehicle is going to be certified.
Right, and in the Devon model you talked about, is there a time frame, like 4 hours, half a day, a whole day?
No,
how do you know how long that vehicle...
that would allow them to park for a day.
One day?
Clearly, if they've finished their work in less than a day, they're not going to hang around just to use up their parking space.
Yeah, but it allows them for the whole day if they want to.
Yeah.
Be home. Thank you.
Amy?
Thanks. Thank you, Stuart. I accept that there is a problem. We've seen it firsthand. We're well aware of it, unfortunately. I think the trial makes a lot of sense. So policy on the fly, not so much, but we can actually see if this could solve it. Would you be opposed to a cost for the to apply for one of these permits, just to help offset the implementation expenditure?
Well, to get it going, I probably would not be opposed.
You'd be fine. So I don't know, pick a number, but you pay $100 or something like this for for one of these booklets.
Yep.
As part of the trial.
Yep.
Okay.
14 seconds now. I think we'll be going over time. Look, thank you very much. We've got one more deputation, and then we will.
Thank you.
But then we'll come back to the paper, because the next paper is on. The next deputation's on another paper, but obviously there'll be some debate around yours. So if you'd like to stay for the debate, it will be dealt with after the next deputation. Thank you. So the next deputation is for the Canterbury Indoor Bowls Association. Do we have a resolution thing? When do we pass a resolution?
And I think just
okay, right. Right, and that's David Philpott and David Bullock.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Right. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm David Bullock, President of Canterbury Indoor Bowls, and David Philpott on my right here is our financial advisor. The Canterbury Indoor Bowls Association was established in the mid-1940s. And in 1949, the City Council Club became a member. We have a current membership of 800, which is all ages, from about 10 to over 90. And about 36 clubs. The hall is in the central place for all Canterbury Indoor Bowls, and also hosts national and South Island events. National events later on this year will bring 150 and 250 people respectively into the district. We also host Special Olympics playing indoor bowls. It's the only ball large enough to accommodate. At the moment, they've had to move out in a place where they can only accommodate about half their number. And so they're looking forward to coming back to our hall. We've also been approached by Bocce, who want to put down a court, or two courts, next to our building and use the facility. They are willing to work with us, and also it's a national sport, whereas indoor bowls is We play internationals against Australia, but we don't go to Olympic Games and things like that. The hall is used by members and non-members for functions and meetings and is an integral part of the community. The council uses our car park area for the Linfield Fields at the weekends. We're right next to Linfield and sort of at the back of Cal Stadium. The bowling hall at 25 Kearneys Road was damaged on the 22nd of February 2011 earthquake. Our current insurer's Tower Insurance began scoping the repair work. Unfortunately, they decided that they would not repair the building and instead pay us out. The reasoning was that they did not undertake projects as large as ours. Originally, Tower approached us and they to get our membership list to get clients for house and contents insurance policies. They did that through, I think, all the outdoor bowling clubs in the country. So having that, we thought we should insure our building through Tower, which we did for, I would think, 15 years without any problems. But it was, when they looked at it, far greater than any other building they'd had to repair. So they took that way out. The association was paid out the insurance and proceeded with the repair. The repair was proceeding well until the fire on the 19th of September 2014, when the foyer, toilet area, kitchen, bar area and lounge were all destroyed. This area was subsequently demolished. The firewall, which is concrete block, between the foyer and the pain area stopped the fire enough for the fire brigade to get the fire under control and save the bowling area. At that stage we had laid a new floor. It had to have the top coat on it, but that had to be relaid because of water and heat damage. The insurance, the builder's insurance covered that sort of thing, but didn't cover any of the other bit because the fire was not anything to do with the builder. They weren't actually working in the area that was burnt the worst. Our architects came up with a draft plan for a new area attached to the bowling area. This plan went to council for consent and after adjustments was sent to our repairers to cost up. There were significant additional costs that arose due to the council requesting certain items that had to be changed in the plan. The rebuild is now 3 weeks away from being fully completed. We've had long delays in settling the fire claim and getting council consent for plans that were drawn up by architects due to the fire last year. We achieved 50% national building standard for the building in October the 5th, 2015, and as such we now have full insurance covering the building. Till then it was still a large worry that our friend who said fire might come back didn't, thankfully. We have a security and fire alarm operating. We've been proactive in seeking grants from various organisations during the year, but in recent times we haven't been successful. We are seeking a loan for 135,000 from the council for our shortfall of the repair, so that we may get the hall up and running for our members and community use. Any grant to reduce the amount would immensely help the total loan and would put a lot of stress on our administrators and members, and it would take it off our members.
What I'd like to add with that was the arson attack in September 2014 that's really caused all this problem and stress for us, and the money we received from the insurers was ample to cover the rebuild and also have a surplus. But after the fire, we've We've managed to try and get grants. There was a large grant that we thought we'd get this year, but they turned us down. Hence, that's why we're coming here now to apply for a loan for $135,000 to have it fixed. In the papers that you've been given, you'll see the fire damage there. If you look up there on the board there, we've actually got, I've just put some photos as well of what it's actually looking like now. So we're just about there. That's the kitchen area there that you can see up there. That again is a part of the kitchen area where we was fitting. That was done about 3 weeks ago, that photograph. Again, that's the other part of the kitchen area that we've got. And that's the bar area. Okay, so we've got a bar on one end, kitchen the other, and a lounge. And then again, that's the bar area there. And then I've got one photo which should actually show, that shows all the completed items there. That's what it looks like as of 2 days ago when I went down there. So all that stuff in the front there's all been rebuilt. So it's coming along quite good. That's the floor. So all the floor now has been redone and inside, and it's got about one more coat and sanding to go, and then it can be played on. It is the only purpose-built indoor bowls hall in New Zealand, which is quite phenomenal. The New Zealand Indoor Bowls Federation, they really do want to use our facility because we can host national events as well as inter-district between all other districts between South and North Island. So they're trying to promote our hall. So we really do need to sort of get that running as soon as we can. So that's where we're at the moment. And that's the new entranceway that we've got. So we've just got a bit of concreting to do out the front and put the paraplegic car parks in for the consent. So yeah, so that's as far as we're at the moment.
All right. I don't know how much time we've got. Oh, we've got 1 minute, 16 seconds.
So,
Phil.
I think given the importance of indoor bowling and the numbers involved in contribution, I'm hoping there is support from councillors for what you're asking. I'm just wondering though, you're also saying that a grant would also be useful. Where I'm coming from is if we're to look at a grant, we may need more time to look at which part of council funding we obtain that grant from. So how are you? Clearly there's been a long road, but are you able to wait a little longer so we clarify how we can perhaps offer you the best help?
Unfortunately, no. We are probably looking for the loan first. And then if there's any option that we can get a grant to reduce that loan, that'd be much appreciated to avoid the stress of the members and the administrators.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, sorry, about Australasian, so Australia, New Zealand, is that right?
There is international tests between New Zealand and Australia, and that happens every 2 years.
And this hall would be obviously the place that it is played as. It's the only purpose-built place.
Definitely would be used because it's large enough to hold that inter-zone one with Australia.
And how many people would be attending? I mean, you've given us numbers with regards to national, so... Sorry.
Oh, sorry, out of time.
Well, I feel like mastermind questions been asked and you can answer it.
Sorry.
10 out of 10? Yeah. Oh, the numbers of that, when we run nationals, we can have up to 200, well, there's 600 competitors come to Christchurch for that. If we run the international tournament, we'd probably have about 200 to 300 people turn up with the players and the supporters from Australia as well as New Zealand. Okay, so it's quite a good influx of people into Christchurch.
Right. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you very much, we're just going to move quickly to item number 17, so if you'd like to take your seat back. I think that the people have worked very hard to come up with a resolution that will resolve this matter. So if you can take, thank you very much for your deputation.
Thank you very much.
If councillors could move to item number 17, there is an additional recommendation